Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Bristol Township Zoning Hearing Board. Before we get started, I'd like to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remove your hats. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to introduce a few people before we get started. To my left is our solicitor, Ken Fetterman. Also with us is Director of L&I, Mr. Tom Scott, and our stenographer is Cindy Oliveira. Mr. Secretary, can you call the board, please?
Colleen Dunn. Andy Guerrillo.
Here.
Jim McMahon.
Here.
Mark DeMarco. Sir. Ed Murphy. Here.
Okay, so let's get this party started. So first on the agenda is Brian Irwin, 11 East Norton Drive, Churchville, PA, 18966. Please come on up. So, Mr. Irwin, you're a continuance from...
Right. Yes, correct. Exactly. So we already got his memo.
Do you need a copy of the zoning notices posted on the...
That's fine. Thank you, yeah.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Go ahead, Mr. Irwin. You can get started.
Yes, you're correct.
Yes, I'd like to thank you for taking opportunity to continue this hearing from the last meeting. There was a few things we needed to go over after the last meeting, one of being which is would a basement dwelling apartment be acceptable by the Lower Bucks Joint Municipal Service Authority? And Mr. Scott had some questions about the requirements as well as to meet the UNO requirements. Numerous calls and in-person visits, which I couldn't do because obviously they're closed due to COVID restrictions. I couldn't receive any information from Lower Bucks stating that they had any documentation prohibiting a basement dwelling in their authority. Mr. Scott was kind enough to send me some of the requirements that he was looking for a UNO standard. And you know, what we're here for is basically an exception for an existing apartment that I purchased. And again, this is due to no one's fault of my own or, you know, previous administrations or previous L&I directors that overlooked it for a numerous amount of years. I'm here as a longtime investor, longtime person that's been in real estate, does business in Bristol Borough, owns a business there. You know, a person that just reinvests in my properties, reinvests in the community. What I'm asking for is an exception for this thing, for the basement dwelling. And, you know, Mr. Scott brought up that he needed to see, you know, certain things to meet the UNO. And obviously, that is correct. After the exception is granted, I will do anything necessary to meet all UNO requirements. Without the UNO, the exception is no good either. So I'm asking today is that we grant me the exception so I can continue with the basement apartment, and then I can do the necessary work to meet all UNO requirements. So Mr. Scott and his team come in and do the final inspection to approve it so that we can get this unit legitimized.
Let me ask a quick question. For anybody on the board right now that wasn't part of the first presentation by Mr. Irwin? No? Okay. Okay, so you can continue. I just wanted to, if nobody was here, I wanted you to kind of refresh our memories.
Yes, I took a look and I've noticed everyone being the same member. So,
all right.
But I mean, I'm happy to go over everything again if you'd like me to. But you know, I see you have a full docket, and just to try to be speedy, I was just going to go over the points that we were trying to continue on. And like I said, you know, Mr. Scott said there's certain requirements that are going to be needed to, you know, meet a UNO requirement, and I'm happy to get these get these things done, apply for the necessary permits, and get the work done. I've been renovating and remodeling properties for the past 25 years. I'm not a landlord that's gonna be in there and it's just doesn't reinvest in this thing. I've already remodeled 3 of the vacant properties or units in the building. I have 2 that weren't vacant when I purchased the property, and, you know, they are below what I consider my standards. They meet the standards of a UNO requirement, but they don't even meet the standards of what I set forth. I own apartments for 25 years, like I said. I make these apartments to something I would live in. I replace the kitchens, put granite countertops in. I do everything that I would do as somebody that wanted to live there myself. And what I'm asking the board today is just grant me the opportunity to get this approved so that I can do the necessary work, bring it up to the standards set forth by Mr. Scott and the township, and we can just get this apartment legitimized.
All right, so you stated that, you know, if we grant this variance today, that anything that the township needs you to do, you'll do.
Yes,
So if we do grant this variance, you're willing to accept that as the condition?
absolutely.
Okay, all right. Anybody, are you done with your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody from the board have any questions they'd like to ask Mr. Irwin?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, Colleen.
Did you fill out a construction permit for a connection to the water and sewer at the Lower Bucks County Joint Municipal?
I did not. It was already connected. The apartment's been existing as far as back as what documentation through public records show as early as 2007.
Because right now you're only being billed for 1 EDU.
Okay.
So apparently, you know, you'd have to fill out for that. And on the application, it does say that does not allow for any plumbing fixture to be located in basements or any other areas below grade.
Okay,
So that would be a concern.
sure.
Anybody else from the board have any other questions for Mr. Irwin? Mr. Scott, anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think if the board is inclined to approve the special exception, we should note, in addition to compliance with the other Bristol Township ordinances, may want to give the applicant the responsibility to pursue the issues of the sewer connection with Lower Bucks Joint as well, and have some comment for the ordinance has 3 things in it for dwelling in combination. It's only 3. The maximum density shall be 1.5 dwelling units per acre. The total floor area of the dwelling units shall not exceed that of the commercial or office use, and there has to be separate cooking and sanitary facilities will be provided for each dwelling unit.
So do you have all that stuff, Mr. Irwin?
The total square footage of the residential units cannot be greater than the square footage of the commercial units? Is that what I heard? Okay. Then I would have to say no, because I believe the upstairs units, no, actually, it would be very close, actually, because I forgot about the additional unit off the side of the building. So we'd have to do the measurements on it, and I don't know exactly.
But you would agree that you'd have to comply with?
Yes, absolutely agree to comply with anything Mr. Scott puts forth in front of me. And if we can't get it done, we can't get it done. I understand that.
Conditioned on that? And
Absolutely.
If you can't meet those standards and you're not approved, then you just can't use it?
I understand that 100%.
All right, okay, at this time, anybody from the audience like to come up, speak for or against this project? All right, I don't see anybody. So at this time, I need a motion from the board to accept on a condition the special exceptions that are made by the Bristol Township, and also the Lower Bucks Joint Water Authority. You're willing to comply with that, right, Mr. Irwin? Oh, okay, so I need a motion from the board to accept or deny this application.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Secretary, call the board, please, to accept a recommendation from the board.
Andy Gorilla,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus,
Yes.
Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Colleen Dunn,
Say no.
Ed Murphy, yes.
All right, Mr. Irwin, so this is in your court now,
Okay.
so.
Absolutely. Thank you. I
right.
appreciate the
Good luck, buddy.
opportunity. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay, next on the agenda is Onar Marble and Granite, 225 Lincoln Highway, Fairless Hills, PA, 19030. Please come on up.
Can I just interject here? I'm William Kerr. I'm the attorney for case number 5. And we'd like to actually request a continuance to next month. We've had an issue come up with a neighbor that we just started talking about in the lobby. So if it would be possible to continue to next month, that would be very much appreciated.
Yeah, I don't see is everybody okay? I need a motion to accept the,
I'll make a motion to continue.
I need a second on the Bristol Realty
Bristol
Group.
Realty Group, correct.
I'll second.
Mr. Secretary, call the board, please.
Colleen Dunn,
Yes.
Andy Gorilla,
Yes.
Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus. Yes. Ed Murphy, yes.
Real quick,
Okay, thank you.
next month,
Next month, yeah, we think it'll be
Okay.
fairly quick to resolve this, but it was
Okay.
just something that came up that we think we're better off dealing with before we present to the board, okay?
great, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.
Sorry for that.
That's okay.
Tim Duffy on behalf of the applicant, owner Marble. I have my posting and mailing certifications. So real briefly, my client, owner Marble and Granite Inc. is a local family-owned business, stone fabricating company. They're presently located down in Falls Township. They're looking to move up here to Bristol Township, a little bit bigger facility. So they're under contract to purchase a property that's about 3 acres, 3.75 acres, and the plan is to subdivide that into a 2-acre parcel and a 1.75 acre parcel. Presuming the subdivision goes through, my client would then buy one of those parcels that already has a building on it. And as a result of that subdivision, there's some variances that we would need, and that's what we're here for tonight. One quick housekeeping thing: as we were preparing for the meeting tonight, it was determined that we may, in the back of one of the properties, we're proposing to put in a dry well for stormwater management. In preparing for it tonight, it was determined that it's located in an area with floodplain soils. Even though it's an area that's already been disturbed, there is a possibility that moving forward we could possibly need a variance from that. So we would like to amend the application to include a variance from 2 additional sections. The advertisements that went out didn't specify any of the other sections, so I don't know if we would have to re-advertise.
Anytime you amend a zoning application, if it's anything
Right.
material, you're pretty much stuck.
Right. Okay.
Because the public, of course, can't, if it's not noticed, they can't react to it. If they don't react to it, there's an argument to be made that full disclosure wasn't made. You can get approved, you'll lose it on appeal.
Understood.
So, would you like to continue?
We would, and that's why I brought it up. That's why I brought it up first thing. So,
All right,
motion to continue.
let's do it. Here we go. I need a motion for a continuance for Onar Marble and Granite.
I'll make that motion to continue.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Secretary, call the board, please.
Colleen Dunn,
Yes.
Andy Gorilla,
Yes.
Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus. Yes. Ed Murphy, yes.
Next month, correct?
correct. If we
Thank
can.
you.
Thanks.
Okay, third on the agenda, John Higgs and Jack Gormley, DBA JG Landscaping LLC, 1009 Fifth Avenue, Croydon, PA, 19021. Please come on up.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Sean Ward on behalf of the applicants. I know I previously submitted this.
You did.
Hard copy of my certification.
Thank you.
Do you want these two signed notices? or
I'll
are they
take
good?
them.
They're good, yeah. And I also took a look at the type of exhibit list for identification purposes, which can attach to the hard copy.
Thank you.
But it might just be easier for reference. Okay. Mr. Chairman and Mr. Solicitor, in the interest of brevity, I would offer to make a proffer, summarize the application, and have both Mr. Higgs and Mr. Gormley verify and adopt my testimony as their own. Okay? Thank you. Again, I represent John Higgs, H-A-I-G-E-S. He is the owner of 1009 Fifth Avenue, Croydon. Jack Gormley, doing business as JG Landscaping and Tree Service, is the tenant. Mr. Gormley is in the process of entering an agreement of sale on the property with Mr. Higgs. So that's how I got involved, and part of the due diligence was to make sure that the property was zoned for what it is, that he can use the property for that purpose. So in my zoning in my packet, A1 is the zoning board application. I'm just going to go down the list real quick for the record. A2 is the deed. A3, the zoning determination application dated 5/25/2021. A4 is email correspondence between myself and Tom Scott regarding that application. A5 is a plot plan. A6 is the Bucks parcel map. A7 is the Bucks parcel land use map. A8 is the UNO application from 2005. A9 is email confirmation of a fire inspection at the property. That's a typo, it should be 2006, conducted by Inspector Breslin. A10 through 14 are Google Earth photos. A15, previously submitted, is the certification of notice, which includes the notice letter, notice distribution list, tax map parcel, certified mail receipts, stamped addressed envelopes, and the returned receipts. I got 3 of them back in the mail. A6 is a photo of the posting. A17 and 18 are photos of the Miller Avenue entrance to the property. A19 are photos of the Miller Avenue frontage. A20 and 21 are photos of Fifth Avenue frontage. A22 and 23 are photos of the Fifth Avenue adjoining property owned by Mr. Criniti, who is present in the room today. Mr. Criniti, C-R-I-N-I-T-I. A24 and 25 are photos of the Fourth Avenue adjoining property owned by Miss Barner, B-A-R-N-E-R. She is not present tonight, is it? Oh, you are, I'm sorry. She is present today. A26 and 27 are photos of the Miller Avenue north and south, and A28 finally is the photo of Fifth Avenue facing east. So on the screen, you'll see, it's very briefly, a copy of the zoning application that was filed with the township. After that is a copy of Mr. Higgs' deed. He purchased the property in 2003 from one Gerald A. Fisher and Joan C. Fisher. Gerald Fisher purchased this property in 1974 and owned it for quite some time and operated a business from the site. Following the deed is a copy of the zoning determination application filed on May 25th, 2021. And then there was some email correspondence back and forth with me and Tom Scott. The zoning determinant application, he could not come to a conclusion that this was a bona fide or permitted use and asked for some insight as to the background. And based upon my review of the township file, conversations with Mr. Haig and Mr. Gormley, it would appear that the property began being used as a landscape contractor yard in or about 1996. Mr. Hague's, operating as Action Landscaping, was apparently a tenant in the property at that time, acquiring ownership to it in 2003, and then he made formal application for a UNO in 2005. The previous use represented in the township files was a auto repair facility. So this has never been a residential property, in recent history, and that's why we're here today. The zoning officer then was Wendy Margolis, I believe her name is, and she denied the application, indicating that a special exception was required to change from one nonconforming use to another. Unfortunately, Mr. Hague never followed through with that application process. However, the property continued to be used as a landscape contractor site, and it had annual fire inspections, especially there was evidence of one and by Inspector Breslin in or about August of 2006, identifying Action Landscape as the current business at that location. So again, Mr. Gormley's Mr. Gormley's been operating at the property for some time now and is looking to purchase it and continue such use. Moving on, then you have the site plan. It's basically a square property with it's 17,245 feet, give or take. I mean 12,724 square feet with a 1,900 square foot existing garage warehouse type structure. The tax map parcel is next after that map, and then I found it interesting that the land use map from Bucks County parcels clearly indicates that it's a commercial use property, as evidenced by the land use map. So next in the packet was the UNO application filed January 26, 2005 by Mr. Hagues, indicating the business name was Action Landscaping, and the present use was a parking lot with auto repair shop, and his intended use was storage of landscaping equipment. And again, he added an additional note that it will be used to park fleet trucks when not in use, mostly at night, in parentheses. Building would be used to store landscape equipment, no work at the shop. And it was signed by Mr. Hagues 10/13 of 2004. The next page indicates Wendy Margolis' note on the application that a special exception required to change one nonconforming use to another, and the appropriate code section at that time. I believe the code has changed. Next is the Berkheimer tax filing by Mr. Hagues, indicating the kind of business was landscaping, and the date the business started was January 1st, 1996. Thereafter is a fire permit application completed by Mr. Hagues. Business name was Action Landscaping. And again, he referenced storage facility for fleet trucks and landscaping equipment. And that was signed by Mr. Hague and filed on January 26, 2005 with the other applications. Following that, we have the Business Establishment Information Form for Township of Bristol Bureau of Fire Prevention, indicating similar information. Then there's a couple sketches of the property that were attached to the application. Next, we have a printout from the, this was found in the township file. It appears to be a printout from the Board of Assessment or the township revenue, and it clearly indicates that the land use, it was code 4280, is a repair shop or garage, and this was issued back in 2005. Following that, February 16th, 2005, Wendy Margolis issued her denial letter, again, advising that according to the ordinance, a special exception is required when changing from one nonconforming use to another, and she enclosed a copy of the portion of the code for Mr. Hagues' use. In an email correspondence with the township codes office, code office, yeah. Nicole sent an email to Colleen Costello asking if there was any history in the zoning board file with regard to the property, and she further noted that Breslin did an inspection, Action Landscaping, in parentheses, on 8/24/2006. Next, we have a Google Earth photos of an aerial of the property and the street views. I have additional photos in the back of the packet that were more current and actually taken by us. And then I have the certification of notice. And then we get to the photos towards the end. It's a copy of the zoning notice posted on the property. Then there's the two photos of the street frontage entrance on Miller Avenue to the property. In that picture are three of Mr. Gormley's trucks. And then again, the photos go on around the property, showing the adjoining property, street views, et cetera. So at this point in time, the applicant submits that we would proceed under three different theories. One is a special exception, because this is the non-conforming use that replaced the original non-conforming use that was recognized by the township. So there was no intervening uses or subsequent uses to this landscaping contractor use following the non-conforming auto repair use, and we would be eligible for a special exception to approve the new non-conforming use. The second theory of relief would be a variance by estoppel. With regard to variance by estoppel, an applicant is entitled to such if there is a long period which the municipality knew or should have known about a violation or failed to enforce the law. That's the chief tenet of the variance by estoppel. And in this particular case, the non-conforming use, they recognized that the auto repair use was a non-conforming use, and that the landscape use it came after that. And that the earliest stages of that would be 2005, recognizing that the application indicated it was in 1996 that it started. So the second theory would be variance by estoppel. And then the third, obviously, would be a traditional variance to permit the use at the site. We submit that it is a unique property, and that is a square property located in a residential neighborhood. It consists of a lot of asphalt paving and a 1,900 square foot industrial or commercial building. It's not suitable for residential use. If you look at all the permitted uses under R3 zoning regulations, those uses would have more impact on this property than the current use as a landscape contractor, simply because the landscape contractors are out all day. They come in the morning to pick up their equipment. They go out. At the end of the day, they return with their equipment. They lock it up in the lot and in the building, and then they go home. So all the other uses, whether they be residential or the permitted non-residential uses, would have increased traffic effect upon the properties and other uses such as that. So that is the crux of our case. I would like to have them verify and adopt at this time, and if the board has any questions, we'd be more than happy to expand further.
Okay, bring him up, swear him in.
All right. John and Jack. John, state your name, spell your last name.
John Haggis, Haiges.
Affirm at the same time.
Okay, Jack, please state your name and spell your last name.
So Jack Wormley, Gormley.
Can you both raise your right hands, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
John, I'll go with you first. You've heard my representations to the zoning board tonight.
Yes,
Are they true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
yes,
And do you adopt them as your own testimony as relevant?
yes, I do.
Jack, you've heard my representations to the zoning board tonight.
Yes,
Are they true and correct to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief?
yes,
And do you adopt them as your own testimony?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, like, when you bought this property, were you aware that it was non-conforming? Did anybody make you aware of?
Go to Mr. Haggis.
When I bought,
Jack didn't buy it. He's a tenant.
Okay,
when I purchased the property from Mr. Fisher, who was about 80 years old at the time, he told me that he had always run a trucking company out of the facility. And when I saw the property, there was trucks there. I have some pictures of the original that he provided to me of the usage. You can see those pictures. So he had tractor trailers there, and he told me that he would like use that as a storage yard for his equipment, and that he would repair his trucks at that site. So at the time, the sale was as is for the lot, and he provided that. And at the time, it was the first property that I got involved with my business, so I didn't really think twice of it. So I didn't see any reason why I wouldn't be able to park my trucks there and do something similar to what he was doing.
So you're saying you weren't aware of? It was not disclosed that it was, when you bought it, that it was not?
No, and the structure itself it was just a cement, slab with cinder block walls, commercial windows, 1 story. It had no living area inside, so it looked like a commercial building,
All right, anybody else from the board have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 of the neighbors here that wanted to address the board in support of the
Yeah.
application. Okay, sorry.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else from the board have any questions? No. All right, Mr. Scott, you're up. Anything? Okay. All right, let's do the audience thing then. Anybody from the audience, one at a time, would like to come up for or against this project? Please come up, state your name for the record.
My name is Teresa Bonner.
Can you spell your last name, please?
B as in boy, A-R-N-E-R.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Just step up and make sure the green light's on.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name's Teresa Bonner. I live at 1010 4th Avenue. My house is in front of the shop. I've been there 41 years. When the trucking company was there, we had a little problem there because they would have their trucks running sometimes and being really loud. But since the landscaping company's been there, we've had no problems at all. Like they said, they come, and the new company here, they park, they get their equipment. I leave for work, the trucks are there, they're gone, I come home and they're gone. So I approved them to have the site there to do the landscaping. I agree with it.
Is that all you got, Ms. Martin?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up, sir. Hold on. Go ahead, ma'am. Come on up. State your name for the record, please.
Catherine. K. McFadden.
M-C-F-A-D-D-E-N?
Yes.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Thank you.
My name's Catherine McFadden. I'm Terry's mother, and I'm home all day, mostly, except when I go out for lunch, which I do a lot. But I have no problem with them. I don't hear them. During the day, nobody's there. And in the morning, when they load everything up and go out, it's no problem.
Just for our general knowledge, Mr. McFadden, where's your house located at? Is it across the street from your, or right next door to Ms. Barner?
Here's Terry's house. Here's their place,
Yeah,
right behind it.
okay.
Our fence, it would be like we're here and they're here,
Okay,
right behind us.
all right, so you live with Terry?
Yes, that's my
Okay.
daughter. I live with
Okay,
Terry.
thank you
So
very
it's
much.
the same house.
Okay,
But
same
like I
house.
said, she works, but I'm there all day, and there's no noise. Nobody's there, nobody, makes any noise, so I have no problem with them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is Mr. Creniti here?
Come on, state your name for the record. Do me a favor, your address too, please.
Yeah, my name's Donald Crinity. I'm on the adjoining property.
What's your last name?
Crinity, C-R-I-N-I-T-I.
State your address, please.
1015 Fifth Ave. I'm on the adjoining property next door.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're very quiet. They've been very respectful. I have no issues with them. being there. I don't even, and just like everybody else is saying, they come, they get their stuff, they leave. When they are there, I don't even know they're there. And they've always been nice and respectful to us. We don't have a problem with it.
Real quickly, if I may. How long have you been residing at your address?
5 years.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? Come on up. State your name and address for the record, please.
Vincent Taggart. Vincent Taggart. We're 305 Miller Ave. A-R-T. 305 Miller.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Mr. Chairman, is it proper for me to present pictures?
Absolutely. Thank you.
That first picture, just so you know, it's their security light.
You got talking.
Talk about that first picture. That's the security light that they have on all night, shines through the window. We have
Okay.
to shut the door all night, otherwise it's going to be a bother. Excuse me, sir. This is my mother. She actually owns the address. My grandmother, her mother. We've been there 53 years. 37 years for myself. I've been there the whole time. First, I'd like to read something that she wrote. It says, "This letter is in regards to the landscaping company seeking a zoning change. The residents at 305 Miller Ave, Croydon, PA, are against this change. Our family have been a part of this community for a very long time, as our grandparents owned this home for 53 years, and now their grandchildren and great-grandchildren are being raised there. We seek to keep a neighborhood for our children to grow up that is not being overrun by large company trucks. Out of all the homes on our street, we are directly affected more than any other property. There are mornings that we are woke up by large logs being dropped into trailers. At night, we have to keep our front doors and curtains closed because they have a bright security light and it shines right into our home. This company has left debris all over our vehicles, such as chunks of wood and dirt. They have told us we cannot park in certain spots on the street, which are directly in front of our home." Yeah, sorry. "We have received several knocks on our door during dinner time to move our cars because their large trucks require a lot of space to park. They have to kind of back in and, it's difficult for them, and our cars are in their way. Employees have yelled at us when we don't move our cars fast enough and have threatened to have them towed, although they are not parked illegally. They leave large work trucks, as you see in the pictures, parked on the streets, block driveways, and make it difficult for us and neighbors to get down the street. We want to make this neighborhood safe for our children, and we believe that it will not be as long as we have these trucks operating in our neighborhood on a daily basis. We hope you take all of our concerns into consideration when making your decision." Just have a couple more things. Just so you know, we have a 2-year-old, an 8-year-old, an 11-year-old. All their friends come. They play in the yard, in the street. It's a residential area. This is the only business that operates like this. I've been there 37 years. There have been other businesses there, but never to this degree. We've never experienced the type of inconvenience that we're experiencing now. Mr. McLean, he had his truck parked there, his trailer, for a long time, but mostly was just parked there. And the guy did repairs in his shop, but it was never like this. Trash trucks even have difficulty completing their pickups at times. Yeah, I guess that's really all of our concerns. We're against this change.
Thank you, Mr. Taggart.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
You said you've lived there for 37 years?
Yes.
And how long has the landscape contracting business been there?
These guys?
Any landscape contractor, whether it
Well,
be
these are the ones
Action
who are
or-
questioned because these large trucks have been there. This is the problem. These large
I'm
trucks,
just asking a simple question.
and I'm going to answer your question. These large trucks have only been there the last couple of years.
Okay, but how long has it been used for a landscape contracting business?
Not since 1996, like you said. So around 2006 did seem right, but prior to that, and the thing is these large trucks, excuse me, like prior to about 2 years ago, we didn't experience any of this. So, there were, I said there have been companies there, but never to this extent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. absolutely. There's a photo of the security light right there.
Sure, we can address that. Mr. Chairman, I can have Mr. Gormley address the parking issue, because we did have a conversation about that.
So moved.
Yes, sir.
Please explain to the board the issue with the parking.
Yeah, basically, we are in a corner. We don't park in the street with any trucks. They're all in our yard. Sorry. We do have a gate. I do have a picture on my phone. I don't have it printed out. That's pulling up. Yeah, it's pulling up the park. That's going into the gate. You have to unlock the gate to get in. So we don't park actually physically on the street. A couple times, about 3 times, they actually parked in front of our gate, and we have to knock on our door to ask them to move to get inside our lot. It's not, it's not right to park in front of our gate. We cannot get into our property.
And the issue with the security light, is that something that you'd be willing to address?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is not your truck here?
Yeah, it's getting into the gate. The gate is locked. We don't lock the gate to get in.
So
it's not- it's not-
every
it's-
picture that we have here is of you waiting to go into the gate. Is it this one, your truck also?
No, it's not my truck.
Listen, we're not here to be parking police, but, you know.
Right, absolutely.
We take, where the people live into consideration.
Right, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
But for the record, that's not your...
No, it's not my truck.
okay.
Do you know whose it is?
No, I do not.
All right, continue.
Anything else from me? Or?
Security light.
Yeah, security light, I just thought it was good for everybody. I mean, the corner there is, the street light doesn't work, so I do have a security light outside. I mean, I can turn it off. I just thought it would be good to actually have some light out there for...
Can you redirect it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there used to be a street light, a lamppost light right at the corner, and that light went out. So then it was pitch black there because adjacent to the lot across is where the old marina used to be, which then became like a wildlife or whatever area. So it's pitch black back there in that corner. So the lights help to provide security. And the police came by and, a few times went over the years when we had different minor issues and things, and they said it would help if you had a light. So I had installed a light, Jack had changed and put another light up. So it was really I thought better for everybody from a security standpoint, police and everything.
All right, anybody else? Come on up, man, please. State your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name's Kathleen Pacheco. Pacheco. I live at 1015 Fifth Avenue with my husband, Don. We've lived there 6 years, and I'm sorry.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Copy that. Thank you.
We've lived there about 6 years, and since Jack's moved in, there's been no problems. We have 2 children. My son is 9, and I have a 12-year-old niece who lives with us. I take my son to the bus every morning, and these guys are nothing but gentlemen. If I'm coming down the block and they see me and their truck's there, they will move their truck to let me get by, okay? We have never had any debris, anything in our driveway because of these gentlemen. I mean, trust me, if there's any business you want in the area, it's them, okay? Because him and his guys are wonderful, okay? And yeah, it's a pleasure to have them around. Before that, we had no lights. And my kids wouldn't go, the front of my house is pitch black. When he moved in, he put the lights up or the lights start working. Now my kids can go out there at dusk, and I feel safe with that. And they actually go around the corner and they play with the other girls on the block, and I feel safe with that. And yeah, we have no problems with it, and it's a pleasure to have them. So I hope you guys think about that. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? So do you guys park them and all your trucks overnight are parked inside the gated area?
Yeah, inside the gate. Yep.
Yeah. So if I ride by there tomorrow or 3 days,
No
a week,
trucks, no trucks on the
there'd
street.
be no trucks there?
Never.
None?
We leave a lot in the morning and come back at probably like 3:30, 4 o'clock. and they're parked inside the lot.
Did you say we go out in the morning?
Yeah, go in the morning, yeah. We leave around, like 8 o'clock, and then we come back and we park around like 4 o'clock. So they're parked in our lot all times.
So at one point, I think I grew up there. I know exactly where your place is at.
Okay.
So at one point, I drove by, was there a big pile of, like, wood on the corner of your property? Like,
There-
cut firewood?
Yeah, we used to sell some firewood.
Right.
We're actually not selling it no more. But we did have, not a huge pile, but yeah, there was a
Okay, all right. So, all right, just being curious.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, anybody else from the board?
Yeah, now what time do you guys get to the yard, start loading the trucks and
So-
stuff like that?
So we get there at like around 7 o'clock. We leave around like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
And also on like the gate issue, do you ever guys think about maybe getting the automatic gate, just
I mean-
for the sake of,
Eventually, when I save some money, I'll invest in it on my gate. But right now, I just have to unlock it.
Okay. So at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to accept this application or deny this application.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All right, so that's fine. Go ahead, Mark.
could we just put some in there to make sure the light gets moved? And
Oh, that's
you know,
what I was-
before
right.
too long, they do something with the gate, just
That's-
to speed up the process.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So this is, you're fixing the light, right?
Yeah, but we could do it tomorrow.
So it's not going to shine in the 305 Fifth Avenue's.
Absolutely. That could be done tomorrow, Mr. Chairman.
Right. I mean, that's great, to have a light there, and I know your neighbors think it's great, but you cannot have it pointing into somebody's house. It's just that simple. All right? And I don't want to ever ride by there and see trucks on the street after hours, ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that I could do anything, but, if you ever come, I won't.
Well, I would submit that's a reasonable condition of approval.
Right.
No parking of commercial vehicles on the street.
It is.
Right.
Right. And that they be kept on
Yeah,
premise.
I mean,
In the fenced-in area.
I mean, I heard from some that are for you guys, it's good stewards of the community, and then, I've heard different. So, I think at this point you should do whatever is in your power to make everybody happy. So, all right, I'm sorry, going on and on, but,
So it's conditional moving the light, not just following the law and not parking commercial trucks in a residential street area.
Correct. No objection to those.
Excuse me, can we address that employee parking, where they're parked on the street all day long?
yeah, is that the case?
I only have 2 employee cars that park on the street. I mean, they park on the side in front of the building where no one parks actually.
All right.
There is nobody else parking there.
More parking.
And they,
All right,
no, there's nobody parks there on the street on the side of where our shop is. So I have 2 employees. They have 2 cars.
Can they park on the lot?
Yeah, they can park in the lot. Yeah.
all right,
We would agree to another condition that employees park.
on the lot. Good?
Trucks aren't there during the day, so the cars can be.
That's absolutely right. Okay.
And this variance would be only for their landscaping company?
That's right. So this is for you sell this property, it does not continue over to the next person. They have to come and get a variance for that.
Oh, Mr. Gormley didn't buy yet.
Right.
We needed this done
It's,
before we
the sale is on the condition of this application.
Right, so he wouldn't have to come back, but
Right.
the next person would.
That's right.
And you could make your legal
So-
arguments then as to why you're entitled to continue it.
Okay, well, it might be a question for Tom. Would we be approving a special exception for a non-conforming use? Because that would,
For Action Landscaping, we are, correct?
well, for the landscape contract,
That's right.
okay?
Yes.
Because Action isn't operating there now, it's JG Landscaping and Tree Service, right? So I would submit that if it's a special exception to grant the change of the non-conforming use, then that attains that goal. Granting a variance, on the other hand, runs with the land, and then anybody could continue that use. So
Well, there's no need for us to go to the variance.
Right, okay.
For the board to go to a variance. As far as variance by estoppel, I don't have enough from you to take a quick look and make a recommendation to the board.
Okay.
We would take that under advisement, but it would be the lowest level approval, which is a special exception.
And that's what we ultimately desire, so, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's get back to the motion at hand here. All right, so we got a motion and a second to approve the application. Mr. Secretary, please call the board.
Andy Gorilla,
Yes.
Jim McMahon,
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus,
Yes.
Colleen Dunn,
Yes.
Ed Murphy. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. That
All right.
concludes my business. May I be excused?
I'll be watching.
You may.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I, oh, I grew up down there, I know, yeah.
It's Bryce. Yes,
Bryce.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Okay,
Oh, no, not a problem.
next on the agenda is Agnes D. Stewart, Living Trust, CO, Michael T. Stewart Esquire, 271 Route 46 West, Suite C201, Fairfield, New Jersey, 07004. That was a mouthful.
Thank
What do you have?
Got a gift for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Gift is well received.
All right. Good evening, Board. Bryce McGuigan from Begley Carlin, here on behalf of my client, the Agnes D. Stewart Living Trust. The trust is the owner of the property located, I guess it's technically at 5400 Bristol Emily Road, but to be completely accurate, it's the parcel just behind the residential property. Actually, hang on, I've got another gift. I'm giving him out here. All right, Mr. Scott. Just to give a little bit of context then. The property, it's unique because it is a 1.87 acre property in the commercial district. However, it is completely, it is completely landlocked. The only access to the parcel is through a residential driveway of the home at 5400 Bristol Emily Road, which is also owned by the trust. There's an easement on the, we'll see in a second. There's an easement on the residential property to allow access to the larger commercial lot. If you can go down to the second slide for me. Oh, thank you, yeah. Well, it's difficult to see, so I have some hard copies here too. One moment here. Oh. So if you'll just bear with me here, just so that we can all get oriented. If you look at the exhibit I just passed around, which I'll mark as applicant 1, the large parcel in the middle that ends in 005, that is the parcel that we're here for today. That, like I said, that is owned by the trust. It's 1.87 acres. You'll see it's surrounded by some residences on the bottom side. Those are the residents at Black Rock. There is a commercial / industrial property to the left of the parcel. There's some vacant land / I believe there's some storage there as well to the right. And just north on the property is the residential parcel by which is the only method of gaining access to the parcel. This property has been in my client's family for 84 years. The Miss Stewart, Agnes Stewart, she unfortunately just passed away earlier this year. But prior to her passing, she lived there for 84 years. And for about the last 30, 35 years or so, she's been using this larger parcel as storage. It's outdoor storage for several different contractors and other individuals. For the majority of that 30, 35 years, there were no issues up until recently. Right after Miss Stewart passed away, My clients, they got a letter from the township, a notice of violation. We assumed that it was because when Agnes was still with us, towards the end of her life, unfortunately due to health issues, she wasn't able to stay on top of the property as much as she would have hoped, and it became, it was in slightly poor condition, let's put it that way. So my clients went about trying to fix that. What they also did was they recently spoke with some of the neighbors, and a few of them are here today with us, to see exactly what the issues are, if it was because the property became run down, if it was because of some other issue. And they found out that there were some issues with one of the contractors on the property, arriving early hours, blasting music, turning on lights that shined right into children's bedroom windows. We didn't know about that, and we've already started the process of getting that person out of there. But even so, we understand that the use for storage is not a permitted use within the commercial district. It's allowed as an accessory use, but not as a principal use. So that's why we're here. We are not appealing any notice of violation. We are simply asking for a variance to allow this use that has been on the property for 30 years or so to continue. We believe that these complaints, obviously we can rectify that, and we think that moving forward we can also place a few different conditions on any approval that would prevent any issues like this from happening again. And also we think that, generally speaking, this use is also beneficial to the area, considering some of the other uses that could go there. There could be just a contractor that could operate there tomorrow with no real restrictions apart from just general nuisance ordinance violations, and we think we can add some conditions that'll provide some more help to neighbors and provide some more certainty to make sure that there are no nuisances in this property. I have with me tonight Lisa Stewart, Michael Stewart, and Patrick Stewart, three of the beneficiaries of the trust. There is a fourth. He would be here today too if he were not in St. Petersburg. I think he's getting the better end of that deal. This is a matter that's of great importance to my clients. This is their childhood home. Like I said, this has been in their family for 8+ decades. The fact that their property has been a nuisance to neighbors to the extent where the township had to send a notice of violation, that's something that they don't take lightly and something that they don't want to happen in the future. Unless the panel has any preliminary questions, I have with me here Lisa Stewart, and I'd be more than happy to present her testimony, and we can go through a bit of the detail of the property. Stewart?
Come on up, get sworn in, please.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Good afternoon, Ms. Stewart.
Good afternoon.
All right.
Why don't I give you this mic?
Sure.
That way with- Is the green light on there?
Green light is on.
All right. Can everyone hear me? Oh, yeah, that's better. Good evening, Lisa. Thanks for being here. Could you please introduce yourself to the panel?
Yes, my name is Lisa Stewart. My mother is the owner of Bristol Emily Road.
All right. And are you one of the beneficiaries of the Agnes D. Stewart Living Trust?
Yes, I am.
Now, the property, it's about 1.87 acres. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. Zone commercial?
Zone commercial.
Now, fair to say it's completely landlocked.
Yes.
All right. So the only way to get access to the property is through the residential house at 5400 Bristol Emily Road. Is that right?
Yes.
Right. Now, since your mother's passing, have you become the primary caretaker for that residence?
I have.
And you grew up in that property, right?
Grew up in the property.
All right. And since you were a kid, your mother has owned that property along with the commercial lot to the rear?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
The house was built when I was born, and 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I gave away my age, sorry.
No, I never would have guessed. No worries. So let's move on from that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make...
Okay. No, it's okay.
With respect to the storage, that's been there for 30, 35 years?
Yes.
Okay. And fair to say that over that time, it's generally worked at that property, right?
Yes.
All right. And is that partially because of the odd location being behind a residence and the fact that you can only get to it through the actual residential driveway?
Yes.
And fair to say it was not, back then, an ideal location for a otherwise commercial headquarters or commercial business, and that's why it's still probably not the best location for that sort of business.
Yes.
All right. For that 30 years, give or take, As far as you're aware, were there any problems or issues with the storage use on that property?
No, there were no problems.
But that changed recently, correct?
Did, yes,
And you and your brothers got that notice of violation in April of this year.
correct.
Right. And now, is it fair to say when you got that, you kind of assumed it was because the property, I mean, honest to say, got a little run down over the past few years?
Yes,
All right. And you think that's partly because of, when your mother was with us towards the end of her time, obviously health issues and other issues that complicated her ability to really stay on things. Is that fair?
that is fair.
So since she passed away, and since you and your brothers now became caretakers of the property, what have you done to try to clean up the property?
We've identified abandoned vehicles and are in process of gathering titles for them. We've had all shrubs and tall grasses and weeds and downed trees removed. The lot's been cleared. Each of the tenants has been given notice to clean up their area, dispose of any rubbish, any fiberglass tanks, tires, et cetera, that have been placed on the property.
And, obviously that's something that should have been done a while ago, but for whatever reason, obviously because of extenuating circumstances, it couldn't have been. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
And behind you on the PowerPoint, there's a few different photos there. I know we don't have a whole lot of photos from before, but are those indicative of how the lot previously looked?
Yes.
All right, that there was some overgrowth around some of these parts of the area, and there were just vehicles there too that were sitting there for too long, or that were abandoned, or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
So we've gotten rid of those vehicles, and we've taken care of the actual environmental, whether it's overgrown trees, brush, dead trees. We've taken care of those, correct?
Yes.
All right, and if we go to page 3, or sorry, 4. I can't count. It's past my bedtime. All right, so this is what it looks like more or less currently.
Yes.
All right.
Sorry.
And no, that's okay. I know it's a little tough to see. But by and large, you cleared the lot, organized it, and made it, look more presentable. Fair enough?
Yes.
All right. And it's not a done deal. You're not finished. It's just a step in the right direction, and you're going to continue with those efforts, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, since then, obviously, you put some work into trying to make the property look nicer. But the fact remains that something you were doing caused, we would imagine, one of your neighbors to complain because there was some sort of an issue. So did you have a chance to speak with any of your neighbors before tonight?
We did.
All right.
Yes.
Now, did you speak with a couple of your neighbors right behind you on Black Rock?
On Border Rock, yes.
Border Rock,
Border
sorry.
Rock.
My
Yes.
apologies. I knew it started with a B. All right, Border Rock. So some of the neighbors you spoke with, are they here today?
I believe they are, yes.
All right. And we'll probably hear from them in a little bit. But if you could, what were some of the issues that they told you about that you maybe didn't know about before?
Right. We didn't know about a noise issue. We were under the impression it may have been a visual concern based on their side of the property looking towards ours. And we were made aware of noise at really unnecessary hours and inconsiderate hours. That was brought to our attention, which we hadn't heard about before.
Mm-hmm. And some of that noise, that was from a contractor who was licensing out the rear portion of the property?
Correct, yes.
All right. And some of the specific complaints, which I'm imagining we'll hear from in a few minutes, but some of the specific complaints were they got to the property around 5 or so in the morning, started blaring music, turned on lights that were shining right through children's bedroom windows.
Yes.
All right. And then some of your neighbors, they went and took it upon themselves to talk to these, whether it's contractor or employees, and got nowhere. They wouldn't stop. All right. And you did not know about that until you spoke with them this past weekend.
Yes, in fact, 2 days ago.
Yeah. So you already started the process of getting those people out of there, evicting them.
Yes.
Correct? But you know that even with that, this use, even though it's been on the property for a few decades now, it's still technically not permitted. You know that?
Yes.
All right. So that's why we're here today. In your opinion, is this use something that can work in this particular area?
Yes.
All right. And is that because it has worked for the greater part of the last 30, 35 years?
Yes.
But it's also because tonight, you know that the zoning hearing board can place some conditions on this to provide your neighbors with some certainty that an issue like that won't happen again. Fair enough?
Yes, fair enough.
All right, and certain conditions that we think would be appropriate would include that last part of your property, that last 50 feet or so, and putting it as a condition that there can be no landscaper, contractor, or any other licensee like that who's allowed to use that part of the property, right?
Yes.
And instead, you would like to put some more low intensity or low usage, licensee back there so that there would be no noise concern or no time concern or anything like that, correct?
Yes.
All right, and what you also plan on doing is you plan on putting some additional screening on that fence you have at your rear yard, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Scott, if you go to the very last page, those are a couple different fencing options that you're looking into in order to provide that screening so your neighbors right behind you don't even see what's going on in the property, correct?
Yes.
All right, and what you also propose is to put additional landscaping behind that fence on the edge of your property so that, even with the fence, there's still gonna be nice tall trees, so you can't see what's going on in there. And if somebody does happen to turn a light on in the morning, no one's gonna see it. Fair?
Yes.
All right. And again, you would ask that, the board make these conditions of any potential approval here tonight. And again, just to make sure that, to give your neighbor some certainty that an issue like that can't happen again.
Yes.
All right, okay. Now, apart from that, it's your understanding, and that we spoke about this before, that this property, it's a commercially zoned property. So any contractor could open up shop there, fair enough?
Yes.
Now, that really hasn't happened yet due to the access issues at the property. However, if they did, they could use the entire lot if they wanted to. But what we're trying to do is we say, look, the last bit, we will affirmatively make sure that there is no tenant or no licensee there who would actually provide that high intensity usage that would potentially cause a bother to your neighbors.
Yes.
You don't want to be a nuisance to your neighbors.
No, we do not.
You thought you weren't for 84 years, and you don't want to start now, correct?
Correct.
All right. So if in the future, if there is some sort of a problem or an issue, you would encourage the neighbors to reach out to you or your brothers or even me. I'll give out cards. You would encourage that, right?
I would.
Because if there's ever any issues in the future, you want to nip those in the bud as soon as you can.
Yes.
All right. Sitting here tonight, do you have anything else that you'd like to tell the board?
Yes, I just feel the need for you to know that we've been in this community, as Bryce said, my mom's been, forgive me, for 84 years. And we've been good citizens. We own the cow barn for nearly 40 years. We sponsored Little League teams here, and we just want to be good neighbors and continue, our parents' legacy and raising us as good people and good citizens here in Bristol Township.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you.
With that, if the board has any questions, Lisa will be happy to answer, and I also have, like I said, Patrick and Michael here who will be able to answer too if need be.
All right, anybody from the board have any questions?
Just, as it stands right now, just an open gate, people can go, they can come in anytime, any hours?
It locks. The
Okay.
tenants have keys and it locks. It's
Okay.
a closing gate.
Do they actually have leases or some other form of?
They're license agreements. They're month-to-month license agreements.
How many, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, no, so if there's anybody who's a problem for you, you just don't renew the license.
And that's exactly it.
Have you ever sought to enforce one of those licenses with the local district justice? In other words, have you ever tried to evict anybody?
No, we have not yet, but we'll be putting that to the test very soon.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Have a license held up in court.
Yeah, I'm guessing that if someone really fights, I'm guessing we're going to have to go to a district judge.
Have you reviewed the license document?
I have not yet. However, it was drafted by a licensed attorney. Mr. Stewart is a licensed attorney.
It has a provision that says that if you tell someone to vacate,
Mr. Stewart, you gotta come up.
Do you need to swear me in?
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can you state your name, please?
Yes, Michael Stewart.
Thank you.
Yes. It does, Mr. Fetterman, it does have a provision in there that's a 30-day, they're month to month. So in fact, with respect to the one landscaper who is the problematic person, I've drafted a termination notice for him that's been circulated to my brothers and sister for their approval, and it will go out tomorrow.
Can you tell me how many businesses you have? How many tenants you have in?
Yes, there are 11.
11 tenants.
Yes.
Okay. Was there any background checks done on, and like, are they licensed tenant, like, are they business licensed tenants, or you're not aware of that?
I can't speak to that. I believe maybe 2 or 3 of them are
Okay.
And,
licensed.
and Lisa, if I may, are all those businesses, or are a few of them just, are they every single one of those businesses, or are there a couple, like I know you think there's somebody who has a camper? Do you count that?
Right. There are a couple individuals with like campers, but they're not business people. The rest are established businesses. A paver and a landscaper.
Okay.
In addition to how you've laid out the rear yard of the property, is there any other conditions you want to offer up in terms of the type of tenants you can have there, the number of tenants at any one point in time?
Yeah, what I would say is, apart from what we mentioned, we're obviously open to any conditions that the board would recommend. If the board believes that a cap on the amount of tenants is appropriate, then of course we're open to that.
I'm not speaking for the board, I'm speaking for myself, but there's a lot of that should be going on anyway. Like, I mean, it should be, I think personally it should be just for businesses. And if it was my property, I would just, people with a business license that are legitimate, business owners, and not guys with campers and, so-
If I may, Mr. McMahon?
That's correct.
The campers were they were abandoned. They're the ones that we're seeking title to have removed.
Okay.
So after those 2, there really aren't any, and the rest are businesses in there.
You would be agreeable not to lease camper space?
We would
right?
be.
It's not a mobile home.
No.
You don't wanna turn it
No.
into-
No.
So you agree that it would be used only for commercial businesses?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else from the board have any questions? Mr. Scott, anything to add?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is the house occupied?
Yes, I'm caretaking the house right now.
You live in there?
I'm there, yeah,
All right.
because my mother passed away March 22nd, so I'm caretaking the house.
Do the people that rent the property to put their stuff back there, do they have access to the house?
No.
Are there any utilities that they have access to, electric, sewer, water, anything like that?
No.
So there's no utility hookups for the businesses that are located there?
No.
So what do they do if they need to go to the bathroom?
I don't know.
Are there any storm sewer improvements on the property? Are there any sewer grates, storm grates, a basin, anything that qualifies as a stormwater management runoff improvement?
No.
Do you, where does the family market the property? Online or Angie's or anything like that?
Nowhere really. It's been word of mouth.
That's all I got, Mr. Chairman. Thanks.
All right, so you say the property's landlocked? right?
Yes.
All right, so. I don't know. Okay, never mind.
I just want to get clarity for the record. When you say you're caretaking,
No, this is my residence. Yeah, this is my residence, and in addition, I am caretaking and tending to the bills and the, I'm not sure right now. I'm teacher, I teach online, and,
All right, and anybody from the board? All right, anybody from the audience? Like to come up? Please come up, state your name and address for the record, please.
Deborah Casey. R.A. Casey, C-A-S-E-Y.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Make sure the green light's on, please, and pull the mic down.
We bought our property at 73 Border Rock Road 3 years ago. It was okay until about January, February with the noise. I wasn't aware of who owned it or anything up until a couple of days ago. I had spoke with the daughter, Lisa and Patrick, about my concerns because I have children. And my concerns was the noise, waking the kids up, us not sleeping because we have to get off for work. So she had reassured that she's taking care of it, that her mother had passed away. They both gave us their number, told us if anything was to happen in the future, she told us where she lived, come, give me a call, she'll take care of it. So that was my only complaint about it, was the noise. Because our fence, our yard is behind it, and you can see everything, and then when the lights, the music, it was just ridiculous. But other than that, I believe everything should be fine. They said they're taking care of it. I'm gonna trust their word.
what about now? That was February. We're now in.
Now, since I haven't seen the guy since I had confrontation with him, other than that, it's been okay. It's been mellow.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Casey.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Come on up, sir. State your name and address for the record, please.
Richard Bird, 69 Border Rock Road. B-U-R-D. I live right, oh, I'm sorry.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your address again, please.
69 Border Rock Road, Levittown. I live right next door to Joe and all, and I live right behind where all the materials are just dumped from the contractors along the fence line. And I get up like 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're like warming up their cars, their lights are shining in, and I talked to the guy, and what he said to me, he said he didn't speak English, but he was speaking English when I came out of the house. So I said, you can't be doing this. The lights are in the house. You knew it loud, warming up all your vehicles. So I talked to Lisa, because I know Lisa for a long time, and I told her our concerns about the fence line, how dirty it was from that contractor, and the noise. And we have some trucks where the diesel, when they warm up during the winter time, they let that warm up pretty good, when it's cold, but the diesel smell comes. And that's all I got to say, but I know Lisa a long time, and their family is a staple to this community, so.
Thank you, Mr. Bird.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna speak freely, and they can tell me to be quiet anytime they want, because I work for them. No, I mean, you've been there a long time, you said 84 years you run the liquor? And was it always used for storage? How long has it been used for storage?
It's been at least 35 years since my father started it.
But, so what year was that about,
Oh, my goodness.
roughly? Is it the 60s, the 50s?
It had to be 70, maybe early 70s, yeah.
so, go ahead, I'm sorry. Listen, I don't know what the feeling of what the feeling of the board is, and I'm gonna say this. I think at this time, and like I said, it's just me speaking, I'll ask the board what they think. I think there's really no real true plan in place here. Like, you know, you don't know how many tenants you're gonna have. You don't know, you know, what, or, you know, you got boats and you can't, I don't know. It's just like, there's a lot of things about this that I think, personally, that should it be fenced in? Should it be, should be a gate? There is a gate, though.
It
you
is
said.
fenced
Okay,
in, too.
It's in fence,
Yeah.
but, you know what I'm kind of saying here?
I understand.
It sounds to me like in the past, it's been a free-for-all, that anything anybody can get away with, and I don't mean that term in a derogatory way, but literally.
Yeah.
It was a hodgepodge of different uses, not necessarily just storage, to the point where there may have been people living there on a trailer with no, you know, if they have facilities in
Yeah,
the trailer, that's one thing, but
There was never anyone living there, and I believe it was started with my father as outdoor storage. That was the balloon, if you will. So therefore, you know, there's no boats there anymore. It's you know, the commercial equipment.
I think what Chairman's getting to is you came in with, you'll agree to any conditions we want to impose, or the board wants to impose, but maybe it would have been better for you to come in with a real plan as to how you really want to run this thing. So if the board would approve it, they'd have a good conscience in understanding what they're approving, because it's hard to know what you want, just
It's not,
open-ended storage?
yeah, it's not coming off as a business plan.
Yeah, okay, so here's what I'll say to that. I understand your concern, and that's a warranted concern. In speaking with my clients, they've already begun the process of actually making sure, like, they have a diagram they're working on in terms of individual spaces that are licensed, and they're trying to organize that. However, to your point, I think what might be a good idea is if the board's willing to allow a brief continuance to maybe the next listing, so that my clients can formalize that and present it to you, and then you can approve a specific plan so that way you understand exactly what you're approving. That provides limits on the site, because even though I can tell you without equivocation that my clients are intent to make this a more well-rounded, established operation, you don't know if the next person's going to be able to say the same thing, who potentially purchases a property. So I understand that.
It doesn't seem like there's a business plan in place, like this parcel of land is gonna go to this business, and, you know, they can
Yeah,
only.
it's not a free-for-all anymore. There are designated areas that are designated businesses, and each one has a certain part of the parcel.
You can't tell that from the aerial map.
Correct, you can. And what we'll be more than happy to do is to actually present something at the next hearing that specifically delineates. Yeah, of course.
It doesn't have to take a half hour, but at least you can come in, explain to the board what it is you really want to do, and maybe if you think it through, which it seems like you're doing, it'll sound more cohesive and coherent.
Like I said, I'm not speaking for the whole board. I mean, you guys tell me.
I agree with what you're saying.
Okay,
I agree.
all right. So you need a continuance for next month.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we got a pretty packed agenda, and the two we put on there tonight,
Yeah,
I don't know,
Then you can move it to the following.
November? And I know there's a court action pending. We could handle that between then and now for the enforcement.
We had 2 other continuances already tonight.
I heard, no, that's
October is
perfectly fine.
jammed.
Whatever fits the board, that works for us.
Well, the more time you have, the more time you have to plan.
I like the way you think, sir.
Okay, November. You guys good with that? Go ahead.
If I may, very briefly, Michael Stewart, yes. We are still, my sister's on site, I'm in North Jersey, Patrick's in Valley Forge, Paige is in St. Petersburg, Florida, and we're trying to get our arms around this in a manner where we just realized how unkempt it's all been. So we're doing our best, but I hear what you're saying, and frankly, I agree with it.
We think you are too, but we want to give you an opportunity to do your best.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so we're shooting for November. All right. I need a motion from the board for a continuance for November for this application.
I'll make a motion.
I need a second. No,
Andy.
Andy did. Mark seconded. Call the board, Mr. Secretary, please.
Andy Garillo? Yes. Mark DeMarcus? Yes. Jim McMahon?
Yes.
Colleen Dunn?
Yes.
Ed Murphy, yes.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
We'll see you back here soon.
I don't know. All right, last on the agenda is Ideal Investment Management, LLC, 324 2nd Street, Suite 18, Southampton, PA, 18966. Please come on up.
We're having a debate about who's the real Ed. Is it Edward, Edwin?
I'm Edwin, he's Ed.
Okay, got you. Okay. If you're representing that to me, that's fine.
There's a copy of it.
Okay, good. Just have them photocopy and email them to me.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Ed Murphy, the real Ed Murphy. I'm older than you, so I've been around longer, so. All right. I'm here tonight, as your chairman indicated, on behalf of Ideal Investments. And we think this is a win-win situation for the township. What's at issue here is the last undeveloped lot in the Clyde Wade Industrial Park. My client already owns property there and is anxious and has bought the 2 lots that comprise the 3.85 acres that is the subject of this lot in this application tonight. He's in the transportation and trucking business, and what he'd like to do is consolidate 2 other locations where he has office employees in Lower South and mechanics in Morrisville, and bring them all to this new location where he would have 20 new office employees here in this location and multiple number of new mechanics and drivers also operating from this location. So the goal is to try to consolidate all of the operation in Bristol Township. The application itself shows a sketch that accompanied the application shows a future land development plan that we will pursue as soon as zoning relief is received. It contemplates an approximate 6,500 square foot building and 66 additional stalls for trucks. The problem we have is that the site is entirely wooded. It's not new growth, it's succession growth, because at one point all of this was already contemplated for development. Your ordinance says you can only measure, you're allowed 50% disturbance of trees, number one. But your ordinance says you measure the lot not from the lot lines, but from the edge of the disturbance. And since the entire lot is wooded, we have no building envelope. Essentially, The way the ordinance reads today, the lot is sterilized and you can't do anything. So, right, well, we need three. We need relief from the provision of the ordinance that says you measure natural resources from the edge of lot lines. We need relief to permit greater than 50% disturbance of the trees. And the last one is, we need relief because on one side of the property it's zoned R3. Now, as it turns out, the R3 is the ramp to the turnpike. That's the R3. So normally you're supposed to have a setback of certain feet from the edge of R3, but since it's a turnpike and nobody lives there, we thought that didn't make sense. So this application requires 3 items of relief that I just outlined in order to permit us to develop the sketch plan that's in front of you. And as I said, if the board looks favorably upon the application, we would then proceed in the normal course to do the land development plans and all that requires in order to move ahead. But our goal is to locate everything in 1 or 2 locations in Bristol Township: mechanics, office people, and drivers. So that's the nature of the application. I have Mike Lardy with me tonight from Land Corps, the engineer. I think I can have Mike sworn in and testify that the summary that I provided is true and correct. Mike, you want to at least identify yourself, identify your professional qualifications?
Michael Lardy from Land Corps Engineering, project manager.
Spell your last name.
Lardi.
And
I would, sure, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do. And I would confirm everything.
Well, before you do that,
Yeah.
you're a licensed engineer. What's your professional business?
Project manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've heard my summary of the nature of the application, both in terms of the sketch plan that you prepared and the scope of the zoning relief that we require, right?
Yes.
Did I accurately state both the reasons for the zoning relief as well as the nature of the zoning relief, or is there something you want to add to that?
Accurately stated.
Okay. Is there any other information that you think is relevant for the board to know about the lot and why the relief is being sought?
Nope, I feel like it was well summarized. Of course, I'm available to answer questions of a technical nature if there are any.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions for, and the owner applicant, Frank, is also in the audience, as is his business manager, so we can answer any other questions that board members may have about the nature of the operation or how he would propose to use the property in concert with the property he already has.
So the gravel storage area, what is that for?
Did you want to speak on that, Frank, as the owner?
The question is about the reason for the gravel storage area.
So he's talking about in the corner, back here?
Back here?
For like
Yeah.
Well,
Yes,
whoever's going to
Well,
talk,
we
need to get on the record, identify who you are, and if it's you, Frank, or if it's Eric, I don't care.
Okay. My nickname is Frank.
Hold on. You gotta
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Can you state your name for the record?
Frank Radzhabov.
Now, Frank is the first name. Can you spell your last name for everybody?
R-A.
Take your mask off. It might be easier.
Yeah. R-A-D-J-A-B-O-V.
Thank you.
Okay, just keep your voice up. Now, Frank, you've been asked a question by the chairman about what's the nature or the reason for the gravel area.
That's for just keep additional equipment to store something, you know, some kind of parts or for additional thing. No, additional like equipments for the trucking company. We need a lot of parts. Yes.
Parts for the operation.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So that, there's trees there now? So you, I mean,
Correct.
do it,
And Mike, do you want to
Sure.
just talk a little bit what trees are there? What quality are they if they're there?
Sure, the trees that are there now, if you were to look at a historic aerial from the mid-'80s, there was a multifamily housing strip right along where Clydeweight is now. So the growth that's there is relatively new. These aren't legacy trees. These are trees of opportunity by just neglecting the land. It's been laying fallow. So that's the nature, that's how the trees got there. These aren't, centuries-old legacy historic trees.
So no trees on this property are legacy trees?
Um,
In your opinion?
In my opinion, I'd have to say no, because of the age of them. And they weren't there in the mid-'80s, so.
So, in your opinion, you clear this land, not one legacy tree is getting taken down.
Well, we would verify that, when we get into land development, if there are specific trees that are identified as legacy trees. But we have no reason at this point to believe that that is the case.
And what happens?
I was going to mention, if I may.
Well, yeah, I want you to talk about what the ordinance requires for replanting trees also as part of the land development process.
Sure, we will, as part of the land development,
That's what I'm
there are
getting at.
landscaping requirements, and at present, we haven't identified any reason we could not accommodate those, or any waivers that we would need to seek at that time, but,
I don't see any place on here where you're gonna put these trees, that's what I'm
Well,
asking.
along the perimeter of the property, there's still quite a bit of green space, so we do have room for new plantings when that time comes. The truth is, we haven't designed them yet, because we haven't gotten to full land development, the full land development design.
That's, the history of my question here is the gravel, the trees, the legacy trees, and, I don't know, understand the whole gravel storage area, why you even really need it. I mean, I don't know why you couldn't leave trees there or plant trees there instead of the gravel storage. I don't know. It's kind of what I'm getting at, but,
We will work with the township staff, Mike and Tom and your engineer to do that. If the
Right.
board's preference would be to provide a heavier buffer around the perimeter than what's shown, we can work with everybody to do that if that's of concern.
How big are the trees exist on the property now?
We haven't done an individual tree survey. We haven't gone out and, because there's just.
Generally,
On average?
I couldn't say honestly on record how many there are, or what the average caliper is at breast height, to be quite frank. That's an additional scope of work that we'd have to,
Are they 8 feet though? Is the whole thing 8-foot trees, 10-foot trees, 5-foot trees? Is it brush?
You're talking about height or
Yeah.
breadth?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like today.
oh, goodness, maybe if you drive by, you probably would see 10 to 20 feet in height on average. I mean, I have not measured them, but that's my, from the car driving by the site, that would be my estimate.
anybody else have any questions on the board?
I have one. It may not really mean too much. What will you guys be using, or, what would be in the cargo of the trucks? That might
Frank?
just come up.
What do you truck?
No, in the cargo she's saying, right?
Yes.
Okay, most of them, I do work for Amazon, and I do empty trailers keep parked maybe. Oh, again. Okay, I do a lot of work for Amazon, and we just, we park the bobtail and empty trailers. No, it's bobtail truck in South, truck in South to come to repair to the shop to take care of the mechanic stuff, and then to park out some trailers, which ones need.
You don't do residential deliveries for Amazon?
No.
You get large
Yes.
tractor trailers
Yes.
of
From
Amazon
warehouse to
products for
warehouse. We
someone
not-
else to
yeah.
deliver.
We're not gonna storage any food or anything, some kind of material. We just
So
store.
no medical waste?
No,
any of that stuff?
no.
Just dry
Yeah.
goods.
Yes, dry goods, just our equipments, which ones need for trucking industry, just equipments, that's all. You're welcome.
Anybody else? Mr. Scott, anything to add? Okay.
Is this the minimal amount of space that you guys can get away with?
The question is, Frank, is the development that's shown on the sketch plan that went
Yes.
with the application,
Yes, I would like to use all of them.
is that the minimum
Yes.
that you think you need to move the people from Lower South, move your mechanics to Morrisville, and consolidate everything here?
Yes.
Explain why.
Yes, sir. I need all 100% of property to use.
Do you have enough parking for your employees?
Yes, on the plan right here, if you park me.
I just heard the driver parking is right here.
Yeah, it's enough. Office employee parking is right here. They're not gonna visit the back and the gate. They're not gonna be in the commercial zone. They're gonna, the office employee have to park out.
All right.
So you've segregated the entrance where office employees come in from where the trucks come in. And the office employees are proposed to park right adjacent to the side of the building on the plan, right?
Yes.
And the truckers and everybody else go on the other side, the other access point. Okay.
So you stated 20 employees.
Office employees.
Office employees. So if that's office parking for the employees, Mr. Scott, what's the like, how many parking spots per square foot is it again? The ordinance?
I'm sorry, for the, what use is this? This is vehicle repair? And the trucks in question will be there to be maintained and then sent out on the road to move stuff around, right? All right, so we're talking about how many parking spots for the employees?
Yes, office employees. They're saying 20 office employees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm counting 12 parking spaces.
And the question is why there isn't 20 or 25?
No, I'm pretty sure there's an ordinance in Bristol Township, like, so many square feet, you need a you need a parking spot.
Have you looked at the parking issue and decided whether you need a variance?
Okay, but Mike, why don't you just talk to that raised by the chairman and Mr. Fetterman?
Sure, we have the requirement for parking stall for a truck terminal, that's use F7. So one stall per employee or one stall per 500 square feet greater gross floor area, whichever is greater, plus one stall per company vehicle normally stored on premises. So at the time, I want to just clarify too, I don't know if Frank mentioned this, but are all office employees there at the same time, all the time?
No, not at the same time. Sometimes work after hours also.
So the way you've calculated based on the ordinance for the use in total, including the office employees, we don't need any zoning.
Correct, yeah. And in fact, we have that calculation on the plan. It shows in the parking chart. We, well, let me see here. We also counted for the truck stalls are actually parking spaces also for the main use, for the trucking terminal. So I cannot speak right now to the number of office employees working at the same time. That's not for me to say. I would defer to the applicant on that. But the criteria we were given was to provide 12 parking spaces for the employees, and that would be suitable for all the office employees working at a time, at the same time.
Okay, that's fine. I don't disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
But now, where do truckers park at? Or they just take their trucks home every night? Or they are technically employees?
That's a trucking parking right now, but most of truck on the road, it will be parked only which truck need to service it.
But what I'm getting at, your truck drivers
Yes.
drive into work,
Yes.
park, and get in their trucks and drive to wherever they're picking stuff up. No?
sir, my truck's on the road whole week, about 2 weeks.
I don't-
It's a 53-foot drive-ins,
Okay.
and they're not gonna. Okay, they cannot be home every day or every day not in parking my property.
They drive their personal vehicles to your site
Yes.
and park their personal vehicles and get out of their personal vehicles and get into the tractor trailers and drive away.
Yeah, they can park same spots where my trucks, or most of them from other states drivers, you know.
So they pull their tractor trailer out, they pull their personal car into
Yeah.
that spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them, like, they, from other states, like New Jersey, they can park where they like.
So you're saying some of them don't come with a passenger
Yes.
vehicle? They only have the
Okay.
truck?
Yeah.
That's what, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, great.
So
Thank
with the sleeper, all my trucks with the sleeper.
Okay. All right.
Will there be any sleeping on site with the sleeping trucks?
Excuse me?
Will they use the trucks to sleep on site?
Inside the truck? Yes.
On site.
Yeah. Yeah, they're sleeping in the truck.
Okay. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Scott.
So the F7 use, it says, the truck terminal shall be licensed by the Public Utilities Commission. Is that, like, are you currently licensed somewhere with that?
Whatever requirement from the state, you need license.
Of course. Yes.
That's what Mr. Scott is asking.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
required to be licensed by the state, you will have it licensed.
Yes, of course, yes.
Just speak into the microphone.
Yes, everything, we follow up the all state requirement, license, everything.
Do you currently have a Public Utilities Commission license in Pennsylvania? I'm just curious.
I don't understand what you're saying, sir.
Do you have a facility now that's licensed by the Pennsylvania PUC? If you know, Pennsylvania Public Utilities Commission, are you required today to have such a license that either you or Eric knows whether you do or you don't? You know? Come on forward and identify yourself.
Hi, my name's,
Right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Can you state your name and spell it, please?
Eric Eklund, Eklund.
And Eric,
You all right, Steve?
Yes.
what's your position and capacity with Ideal Transit?
I do the safety and I'm the operations manager for Ideal Trans.
Okay, and you've heard a lot of the questions this evening about some of the nature of the operation, right?
Yes,
Okay, anything you want to add to what you've heard everybody say so far?
yes, we are registered with the FMCSA, we have DOT numbers,
Registered with,
the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. So we have DOT number, we have all the licensings and insurance that's required for a trucking company. The trucking company's been in business since 2013. I've been with Ideal Trans for approximately the past 3 years. There was a question about sleeping. There's sleeper berths in the trucks. They're not going to be sleeping on site. They travel 24/7 across the nation. So when they have to stop for their hours of service, they have to sleep at a truck stop. And that's where they sleep. So yes, drivers, some are owner-operators, some are owned by the company. So the drivers will come into the business and park and take a truck. Or if they're an owner-operator, they own their truck, they will drive it from their house, pick up a trailer, pick up a load, and deliver that load. It's all dry goods. There's nothing stored there. It's all transported.
All right, anybody, any,
You've heard Chairman and me say that the goal of this exercise is to consolidate all the operations that you can to Bristol Township, right?
Yes,
Presently, you have what I call back office staff in rented space in Lower Southampton, right?
yes, that's correct.
And you also have a handful of mechanics that are located in Morrisville.
That's correct. And the trucks are also, it's leased, it's a yard in Marsville, and we're consolidating, purchasing a property, putting them all in one place.
Including the back office employees of which you
Ed, I'm sorry, over here. The hundreds of people watching on YouTube can't hear what you're saying because you're doing your Cicero instead of speaking into a microphone. Thank you very much.
Relax over there. Okay, so the goal is to move the back office employees from Lower South to Bristol Township and to move the mechanics and other trucks that you presently have located in Morrisville Borough in a lease property to this space which you've now already purchased.
Yes, that's correct.
And you also have an existing location in the same industrial park, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Up the street.
1498 Clyway Drive.
And what's on that property?
That's the beginning of the trucking terminal. There's bays there. If you're not familiar with that, there's bays down there at the end of Clyway Drive.
Okay, so this, if it would be approved, would be your second owned location in Bristol Township?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So the property's already purchased?
Yep.
Just recently purchased a few months ago, so we're consolidating.
Okay.
And we're trying to buy more,
Okay.
which Mr. Scott knows, because Mr. Scott was kind enough to give us some information about a property that's he having some enforcement issues with next door.
Yeah, the,
Immediately adjacent property.
yeah, but the property that Eric was just mentioning is at the top of the semicircle?
Yes, that's correct. It's the end of the cul-de-sac.
So the property with the pallets and the nonsense is between that one and this one, right?
Yes, that's
All
correct.
right, well, it'd be natural selection.
Right.
Not the pallet guy. Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So Scott is trying to push that problem onto us.
Yeah, but he passed away.
Disclosure, my firm represents the estate
Uh,
of Wesley Green.
Well, then talk to us. We're happy to, we want to buy
saw-
it. We want to buy it.
I saw Wilmot in court the other day, the lawyer from Bristol. I told him you'd be getting hold of him.
Okay.
All right. Anybody from the audience like to come up and speak for or against this project? Okay. You know what I need now? I need a motion to approve or deny.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Go ahead, Mr. Secretary. Please call the board.
Colleen Dunn.
Yes.
Andy Gorilla.
Yes.
Mark DeMarcus.
Yes.
Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Ed Murphy. Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, next time use
Hey,
the mic.
hey, real quick, just for the board, keep a copy of everything you have here because there is going to be a couple continuances. So, with that being said, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I'm not going to call the board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, Mark.